Eddie Hearn saying via Fight Hub that Anthony Joshua wants the rematch back at MSG in New York. He wants to right the wrong, but Eddie obviously wants it in the UK. Rob, your thoughts on this? Because I've been of the mindset that DAZN wants it in the U.S. If DAZN and AJ want it in the U.S. and they stick to that, do we get the rematch in the U.S.?
I think so. I think the final decision's with AJ. I really hope boxing Twitter can get past the fact that Andy Ruiz, despite being the champion, isn't getting any kind of a say in this. Whether he should, that's obviously another point. But this contract is kind of done. And this, I want 50 million or he deserves this. He may well do. But according to Teddy Atlas, however his sources are, it's around $10 million for the rematch.
Look, boxing Twitter, relax, boxing Twitter. Like, we get it. Like, PBC stands have to stand. I get it. Just like Matchroom stands have to stand at times. Like, I get it. But come on. Like, this is not the hill to die on. There are far better hills to die on. Like, when I saw, what's his name? I'm not going to say his name, actually, because A, I actually don't know his name. B, I have him muted. And C, he doesn't deserve any platforming at all.
D, that doesn't help me figure out who you're talking about.
I'm sorry. I think his name starts with a J. Anyways, digressing. I don't know.
I do. I know
now. But he like quote tweeted and somebody retweeted it, so that's how I round up on my timeline. But anyways, digressing. Chris Mannix came out and said, "Look, guys, like the contract's already like was done. The rematch clause was signed, sealed, delivered, sort of thing. The only thing that's really up to determination was the location." And he comes out here like, "Oh, the Eddie Hearn mouthpiece out here defending him." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, what? Like,
understand how it works."
Like, first off, like, whether or not you think Chris Mannix has a bias towards DAZN doesn't really matter. He probably does. He works for them. He gets a paycheck from DAZN. Like, if I get a paycheck from a company, guys, I'm going to have a bias towards that company. That's just how it works everywhere.
I mean, I personally would prefer, if that was my employee, to have a little bit more of a bias. I think he is kind of, he does lean that way, but I think he is quite fair, in my opinion. He does kind of, like when there's been fights that he hasn't been, it's like he says,
his last podcast was bad. I'll put it this way: his last podcast was bad. I will give that some credence. Like he had like zero mention. Like he gave Bob Arum more credit for Andy Ruiz than Heyman, and like that just didn't make sense to me. Because I like in 2019, like that doesn't like Arum. Like, why does Arum get any credit for Andy Ruiz when the entire run up to the fight he was calling Andy Ruiz a fat guy that's gonna get knocked out?
Yeah.
Like, stop. However, digress from that point. Like, Chris Mannix probably has a bias towards his own, obviously, but that point is completely exclusive from him stating the obvious fact: contract is signed, sealed, delivered. So again, PBC stands, relax. This is not the hill to die on, guys. It's not the hill. If you want to make a arbitrary argument for the next 3 days on boxing Twitter, PBC stands, make one about how the double standards of purses and how people freak out about Wilder getting paid a lot more than his guarantee, and nobody cared about Triple G getting paid a lot more. Like, that's an arbitrary one you can make a bitch fit about for the next 3 days. Go for that. Okay? Don't do it with a signed, sealed contract that you don't like.
but yeah, back to the like that Joshua says, want to do it in MSG,
yes.
Put everything right. I mean, ballsy move. He'd be quite within his rights to say, look, I came over here, gave you your shot. You've done that. Fair enough. You beat me. You were the better man. But the rematch is on and you're coming to my turf now, whatever, whether people had a pussy running tail between his legs back to the UK for the fight, whatever, who cares?
I saw, I didn't see the actual interview. I'm sorry to cut you off. But I saw a transcript of it from a different article. and Eddie like said something to the effect of like, "Oh, that's cute." Like, like he literally said that. Like, AJ wants to fight in MSG. Like, he wants to right the wrong. I'm like, that's cute, AJ. Like, we're gonna look at our options. Is like what Eddie said, and I'm like, yes, that's hilarious. Because
Promoter like, whoa.
no,
Let's get back.
um,
Let's get back to the hospital and get that checked out because he's still talking nonsense.
I think AJ might stick to this because we are a couple days out now, and it seems like this is now this story is not being refuted, and also like AJ, everything that we've seen from him in terms of his own video on his own YouTube channel and his IG stories has been to me a guy that wants to sort of like run it back. Like no, let's run it right back. Like same place, same date, like whatever, like same
Yeah.
everything. I will beat you. I want everything to be the same. He kind of seemed like that guy to me. And again, I think DAZN's leverage here, guys, is something that cannot be understated. I understand that Eddie, Sky, and probably all of the Matchroom company and all of UK wants one thing,
Mm-hmm.
but DAZN seems like in this weird time to have more leverage than them, and that's not normal. And I know like UK is not used to that, but I think at this point in time in this specific situation, the zone has more leverage than Sky, the UK fan base, and maybe even Eddie Hearn and Matchroom.
I mean, look, this rematch, as much as we can maybe think of Canelo Triple G3, this rematch is potentially, I think, maybe the biggest fight of the year.
Yes, it
Just
is
because of what Andy Ruiz has become now in America, like
absolutely.
the huge growth in his social media, the fake Photoshop Snickers advert.
Like
Um,
imagine if they put this in Dallas. Like I know they wouldn't, but it could outsell Mikey Spence. And I'm not saying it does 100,000, but like I'm saying it could do 50, 60. You could like Andy Ruiz could pull from the Mexican market, Mexican
mhm.
American market, and we know I think with this fight now that you might have that Ricky Hatton effect with AJ, where like everyone from the UK is going to travel for this one because, like you say, it's his potentially career defining fight in some ways. And
Yeah, I mean,
AJ,
Eddie said, like, if he loses again, it's not career over, but it's a long way back. You know, he's 23 fights in. You know,
this fight means more than all of his other fights combined, including the Klitschko fight. It
oh, for sure.
does.
This is a real. This is you know, you hear it all bandied about. You know, certain people tweet, and it's like they speak sort of romantically about the sport, but it's kind of true that this, you know, it's how you bounce back. It's revenge. You know, turning over a loss, getting that revenge. That's what made the greats great. Um, look, like you say, we've done the list. The greats that have all lost, and they're held in such high regard amongst the, you know, boxing fans and the all-time pound for pound lists and things like that. They've all got losses. It's how you bounce back. It's, you know, righting the wrongs. It's all that. So to me, the story is there. Like I said, I wouldn't mind if it's in MSG because it's kind of like that's even more to the story, going back to where it all went wrong. And to me, I get Eddie's like thinking, let's do this in the UK. Let's give you every advantage. Matchroom needs those belts back. We need the unified heavyweight champion of the world back on our back in the stable. But as a promoter, this fight is huge in America. It's huge. I don't know how many Americans are going to come over for it if it's here. How many Mexicans will travel? I don't know quite how passionate they are. I know we travel abroad to follow certain fighters, and it's a
Mhm.
good support. But as far as the other way around, I don't know. I'm not so sure how many would come. So, um, but then I guess that's the argument. That's the advantage. You know, you got 80, 90,000 people all rooting for AJ, and that's maybe that extra lift as well that would need. So I don't know, but as far as the size of the fight, it's huge in America. I think.
Yeah, it is obviously a super fight no matter where it's at this point. But I feel like in the U.S. you get this clash of cultures and styles in a way that's more.
And it's prime time. That's my thing. It's big here, but it's
But
maybe doesn't quite catch on as much in the US. You know, when it's at 5 in the afternoon or 4 in the afternoon.
you know, there's so much that goes into making a fight feel big, massive that goes beyond like the X's and O's, the wins and losses, right? Like there's so much that goes beyond it. Like when I was in Vegas for the first Canelo Triple G fight, and there was a two rival marching bands, one from Kazakhstan, one from Mexico.
Yeah.
Like that clash of styles coming down to one city, it gave it a vibe and a feel to the fight that you can't describe. Like it elevated the fight to a level that is truly transcending of the medium
You feel
of
part
the
of
art.
something. Like, yeah, you're
Yes,
part of something. It's part of history in some way.
yes,
It's like a moment in time.
absolutely.
Yeah, I know
And
exactly.
while I do think it obviously does have that effect in some fashion if it's in the UK, like AJ Ruiz. Obviously, it does because you're going to put it in a massive stadium. Most likely, it seems like no matter the time of the year, even if it's an outdoor, it seems like they're going to go for the out. They're going to go for the full 100,000 if it's in the UK. And while that obviously is going to make a feel and a vibe to the fight, it's going to be isolated to a way to the UK. You
Mhm.
don't have that clash of cultures, that clash of styles that I think does help to, again, elevate and transcend a fight above the medium, above the art. Um, and again, whether it's in MSG, UK, Mexico, wherever the fight's going to be, it's a super fight, and I can't wait to see it. Um, but you
Yeah.
even, sorry,
Sorry. No,
uh,
fair.
but I was going to transition to next topic. So any
Oh
other?
no, I was just very quickly going to say because we know we stay up for fights, right? And Eddie, when asked again, I think this was Ron, but asked how well the Joshua Ruiz done Skybox office in the UK, he said it done around half of what the Povetkin fight did, which is recorded as 1.1 million buys. So this is done around the 500,000 buys at 3 a.m. That's pretty decent, huh?
That's pretty amazing. And like I've said before, like AJ in the US is still going to draw massive pay per view numbers in the UK, like well above the market average for pay per views in the UK. We need to find that article again.